am quitting social media. So I'm doing a video about this, one, to stay accountable, because it's easy to say that you're going to quit social media, but I am so addicted that sometimes I end up going back on anyway. But I also wanted to open up a broader conversation because as a business owner, as someone who likes to stay connected to the world, and as someone who has found a lot of value in social media, I'm not saying that it's all negative, but there are a lot of negatives, and there are a lot of long-term impacts and implications that I don't think that we fully understood, especially for creative people. So one of the reasons that I'm going to share for why I'm pulling away for social media had a lot to do with my own life path and life purpose, and I've already experienced shifts and just feeling more connected to myself and knowing like what I need and want to do in order to move forward, just with my soul work, my purpose work, my business. So if that interests you, then you're definitely going to want to stick around. The number one reason why I'm quitting social media is flat out because I'm addicted. But I know that I'm not the only one. So a little while ago, I discovered this feature on Instagram that allows you to set a timer and then receive a notification when you have hit that amount of time on the platform. And I set the timer for 30 minutes and was shocked by how quickly 30 minutes went by. 30 minutes meditating feels like eternity. And I'm like, when is this going to be over? But 30 minutes on Instagram, it feels like 3 seconds. It just disappears. And honestly, every time I could be in a great mood that day, but then if I scroll and end up picking up my phone, and then, once I put it down, I definitely notice that I don't feel as good about myself. I have comparison around what I'm doing and like where I am, whether I'm doing the right things to reach my goals. And I just generally feel more dissatisfied and unhappy and even anxious. And over time, I could no longer deny that this was the truth. So I'm really committed to success and to my business and to growing my blog and to spreading my message. And so one of the reasons that I was on social media is because I told myself, well, I have an online business. I have to be on social media. It's the most powerful way to market yourself. And over time, especially with the algorithm changes to Instagram, fewer people were seeing my posts. And, I spent a long time, years of my life actually, building my platform on Instagram up to like 17,000 followers. And I had a hardcore emotional investment to Instagram in particular, not so much Facebook, but I had a big emotional connection to Instagram. It's a place that helped me actually have a spiritual awakening, as corny as that sounds, to receive help for a spiritual awakening on social media. But it really did. Some of the ideas that I was experiencing and exposed to that I hadn't necessarily been exposed to, mainly that the pain that I felt in my heart didn't make me a flawed person, that it just made me human, really opened the door. And that because I thought that I was the only person that really felt that kind of pain. So knowing that other people felt pain really opened the door to my own healing and helped me fully process it and heal it. And I went on to discover a lot of deep truths about emotional healing that I now teach to others. And as I began to heal, I then also began to embrace my voice and embrace the message that I wanted to share to people. I'd always wanted to share my story and had never really had the guts to. I'd always wanted to write my personal stuff. I was a professional writer. I was a journalist for many years, and then I was a freelance writer, and I worked in PR, so writing there too. But I had never really developed the inner gumption to write my own stuff. I didn't really think it was worthwhile or worthy, or I felt like I couldn't make a living doing what I really wanted. Either way, it was all fear at the bottom line. So Instagram is where I took those first halting attempts at sharing my deepest soul message, my soul truth, and it felt so good. And in those days, Instagram was just this really beautiful place. I was tapped into the yoga community, and there were a lot of people actually going through spiritual awakenings. This was like 2013, 2014. There were a lot of people, maybe 2015, there were a lot of people going through spiritual awakenings, and a lot of people were sharing their journeys. And it wasn't like it is today. It was pre-algorithm. It was the really big accounts taking over, they were still growing. So there wasn't this weird sense that some people have a lot of followers and they have a lot of influence and they have perfect lives and we should emulate them and they're up on a pedestal. And that whole dynamic, which I think is really toxic. Instagram back in the day, and maybe it wasn't for other people, but for me and for the people that I followed and connected with in the yoga community and the spirituality community, it was a very heartfelt, authentic place where people were just sharing their journeys. And I felt I needed the validation at that point. I didn't have the inner confidence. And so I really enjoyed seeing people like my post, comment, saying that they liked my message, that they liked my writing. It gave me a lot of confidence that helped me go and pursue bigger goals, like starting my blog and creating courses. And all of these things would not be possible if it wasn't for those early interactions and those early people cheering me on. And that is part of the reason why I was so emotionally connected to Instagram and why it hurt. Again, this sounds so weird to say, but why it hurt so much as the algorithm began to change things, as the platform changed, just the energy of the platform changed. And so you have these huge accounts and they just have perfect lives and everyone else is just supposed to worship them and be fangirls, right? Which is weird. Like, I'm just not really into that. And it became less authentic. It became less about if you want to be an influencer, you want to start an online business or be a coach, then you have to have this certain image. And I tried to keep it authentic. I really did. But the truth is that I really started to judge myself and judge the messages that I was putting out there and wonder what I was doing wrong. Because I was suddenly not getting the engagement. People weren't commenting, people weren't sharing. And once I installed business capabilities on my account and saw the insights, I began to see that nobody was even seeing my posts anymore. Like, out of 17,000 followers, now only about 1,500 on average see the post, and then no one really likes it, no one really interacts with it. And my ego was quite frankly shattered. I was devastated, more devastated than I'm proud to admit. Because I suddenly felt like the deepest, it was like my worst fear, right? I feel like this is a deep fear that keeps a lot of people from giving their truest gift to the world or sharing their soul. What if I give the world my true self and the world doesn't want it? And this was the experience that I was experiencing, the fear that I was facing. I was sharing my heart and soul and people didn't really seem to care. And this hurt a lot. And so I started to look outside myself for answers, right? Well, maybe if I post like this person, maybe if I post pictures like this, maybe if I do this. And this led to this negative spiral of looking outside of myself for answers. And then it's like the more disconnected from myself I became, the more I looked outside of myself for answers. And it was just this vicious cycle. And the more disconnected I became from myself, the more that time that I spent on social media, exacerbating, again, the cycle. And I kind of recognized this happening, but it was happening so slow that I recognize it or see it for what it was. So I just kept going, and then, obviously doing the inner work and developing self-awareness around this, and just eventually realized that, like, I was looking at my numbers for my business and realized that actually social media, even though I'm spending 95% of my time on social media, posting things, responding to people, it drives a very, very, very small percentage of my business. Most of my web traffic comes from organic search or Pinterest. Most of my wonderful clients and students and members of my membership program that end up joining, they come after I send an email and not after I put on a social media post. And I'm sure that daily social media helps create the engagement with my audience. And it was just a lot of fun. I had a lot of ideas. I have a lot of things that I want to share with the world and talk about and explore. And social media was a really fun platform to do that. But over time, it stopped being fun because part of the fun is interacting. I don't want to just talk to nobody. That makes it not social media, right? So I eventually my self-esteem was just so crushed, honestly, and I was feeling so bad about myself, and I just hit like a new bottom, right? And I was like, I can't keep going on like this. Like I can't, even though I have such emotional attachment to Instagram, even though I love connecting with my people and I deeply value the 1,500 people that are seeing my posts and the smaller number that are actually hitting like or taking time to comment, I deeply, deeply, deeply value that. But I had to acknowledge that the impacts to my overall happiness, the impact to my self-esteem, the impact that it had on my work, right? Because if you're watching this, you're probably a creative person like me. And so I want to talk for a minute about the impact that social media has on our life purpose, staying connected to our truest gifts and giving those truest gifts to the world. So nothing is all good or all bad, and that includes social media. And part of the positive of social media is that it does give us a wonderful way to easily get our message into the world and connect with other people. For some people, it works really well. For some people, they are easily able to generate an audience and build a business or achieve whatever goals they have on social media. I know a lot of people who have built very successful businesses pretty much on Facebook alone. And I also know people who have done really successful on Instagram. But we're all different. All of our messages are different. All of our soul lessons and learnings are different. And I fully believe that we can't look at what is working for other people. We have to feel into what is working for ourselves. And that was one of the reasons why it felt so hard to stop. I saw it working for other people. And so I kept thinking to myself, well, if it's working for them, it can work for me, and kept trying to double down and change things and shift things. But then I was more focused on creating for engagement and like what can I say in order to create engagement, which is just another version of what can I say so people like me? How can I change myself to achieve this effort? When the truth and the deeper core way to create in a way of fulfillment is to think about, well, what do I really want to share with the world, and what medium is best for that? How do I feel called to interact with the world? And the bottom line, is this helping me? If social media was allowing me to help people and people seemed really engaged, and honestly, even if it didn't really make me that happy, I would work to manage my addiction. I would create better boundaries. I would do all of these things. And, in service of that larger mission. But I just discovered that social media is not only helping me achieve my like worldly goals, but it's really taking me away from my deeper gifts. Because what happens is we focus so much on the paths that people are taking, right? And I think for a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs or coaches or whatever, we see people interacting with the world in very specific ways. And this is just another way of saying you can take this path or this path or this path, choose. When the truest way to find your truest gifts and the truest way to make your way through the world is to just be deeply connected to yourself. And even if you're not trying to build a business, even if you're just deepening into your soul, deepening into your purpose, the most powerful way to do that and to create your true expression in the world, or to find out even what you really want, is to be deeply connected to yourself, is to spend time meditating, is to read books, which require you to really think and engage and interact with the material. It's not passive, it's very interactive. Or to journal or to write. And when you're deeply connected to yourself, you can't not be true to you. You can't not know what the right next step is. You can't not know what your truest gifts are, because you'll just get the ideas. Oh, I should create a book, or oh, I should create a program, or oh, I should do this. You'll just receive the ideas. When you're connected to yourself, this is easy. It's inevitable, right? Sometimes there's inner blocks that we have to work through, but it's just all about connecting with yourself. Whereas when we engage with social media, it's different, right? We're looking for answers. We're looking for people to, in a way, tell us what to do or what the right answer is. And this comes from a deep place of doubt within ourselves. And we look at other people who are presenting a facade, who are presenting a highlight reel, and we know this intellectually, but still we think to ourselves, wow, they're doing so great and they have what they want, so therefore I should do what they do. But that automatically takes us out of alignment with who we really are and what we're really here to give to the world. So another really key thing with social media is the element of distraction. I found a great TED Talk, right? And I can link to it on my blog, but there by this guy, Cal something or other, right? And he gave a TED Talk about deep work and our ability to drop into ourselves and into to create deep work, right? When you think about masterpieces, literary books that have changed the world, or beautiful works of art, right? These things require time and space to really go deep. And so eventually, over time, I had to realize that I was not put on this earth to create memes. I was put on this earth for a larger purpose, as were you. And I have deeper work. But as long as I am spending and frittering away my attention on checking social media in between this and that, or focusing on what this other person who has what I want is doing and how she's getting it, I'm detracted and distracted from my own goals, from my own message, from my own deeper truth. We need to create that space, right? And even I've just been reducing social media intake for just like a day. And I'm not totally off. Like I said, I have private Facebook groups that I'm running that are paid, that I'm still participating in. And then I have a thing or two going on for my own personal and professional development. But I've deleted the apps from my phone. I'm no longer aimlessly checking them. And instead, I'm reading, I'm meditating, I'm doing Kundalini yoga. I restarted that as a daily practice, just spend more time meditating and just really tuning in and really cleansing, right? Cleansing the palette of my consciousness from all of these messy distractions that were taking me off my path, that were disconnecting me from my true self, and that were blocking me from my deeper message. I was feeling really disconnected from my deeper message, and it was causing me great stress and anxiety. And then in reacting to that stress and anxiety, I started taking actions based on that fear rather than just dropping in more deeply to myself and recognizing that if I want to give my truest gifts to the world and live from that soul connection, then I need to create time to be connected. When it comes to boundaries, I definitely could try harder to post and then put the app away or put my phone away. But the truth is, I'm addicted and I need to honor that. And I think that social media addiction is rampant in our society. And I think that it's a cause of a lot of the depression and anxiety that people are experiencing, a lot of the feelings of just feeling lost or disconnected. I think because our attention is focused on those little devices that are specifically designed to capture our attention and to make us focus on them. There's so many studies done that have shown that being on social media rewires your brain and makes it it shortens your attention span. I've heard it compared to like a casino, right? Because we're just hoping that, next time I open my app, I'll get the reward. Next time I open it, I'll get the reward. And what is the reward? The dopamine. You have a post that does really well, and it's like ding, 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 and all that dopamine is firing off, and then the next post doesn't do well. But you want that high again. What kind of post can I create to get that high? How can I get people to like my post? How can I get people to like me? Is the deeper question that we're really asking, which is coming from the deeper fear that we're not worthy. Because if we really believed in this, right, then we wouldn't allow ourselves to get into this mess. But it's just an addiction. It's just another opportunity. It was a growth opportunity for me to learn to validate myself and to value my own gifts and to trust myself on a deeper level, to trust that I know how to create what I desire, and even to step away a little bit from the connection that I've been having between my worldly success and my own self-worth. So it's all beautiful lessons. We're all always deepening in to what these lessons really are. So if you like this video, subscribe to my channel right now and share in the comments below, what is your relationship with social media? Have you thought about quitting? Have you thought about taking a break? What are some of your doubts and fears around that? What's stopping you, if that's what you want to do? Or if you have a really positive relationship with social media, I would love to hear about that too. I may very well go back on, right? But right now my soul is saying that I need space. And so I'm going to listen to my soul, because that's what I do, and take that space. If you want to read the related blog, click the link below and check out the free resources on my website. I have a beautiful shadow work training, an advanced shadow work training, and also the most powerful emotional healing meditation in the world. And these two tools are really designed to help you really connect to your soul, release any painful emotions that are blocking you and keeping you stuck in past pain that are blocking you from moving forward into a beautiful future, really listening to your soul and hearing what those messages really are. So go to SuzanneHeim.com for that, and I will see you soon. Bye.